Superman and Lois, Season 1, Episode 4, Haywire. I must say this episode was a little bit all over the place. The episode starts out 6 years ago in Saskatchewan. Morgan Edge is in what looks like a Hummer in a military outfit in the middle of a military-looking convoy of vehicles. Asteroids are flying through the sky and hitting the ground. As an asteroid hits the ground in front of them, the Hummer stops and Morgan Edge gets out of the Hummer and looks at the crater made by the asteroid. There is some sort of pod in the middle of that crater. Then the episode transitions back to present day at a high school football game for the Smallville Crows. Clark is not only being an equipment manager, but also being an assistant coach for the team. Lois and Chrissy are in the stands watching when they both spot Morgan Edge at the game trying to win over the town of Smallville. He is standing near the stands along with Kyle Cushing and Smallville Mayor George Dean. Kyle Cushing is with Morgan Edge talking with him during the game. Morgan Edge notices Kyle's wife Lana, the cheerleading coach, down on the field with the cheer squad, and he invites him and his wife out to a late dinner. Up in the stands, Lois notices someone at the game who she was not expecting to see, her father, Sam Lane. He came to watch the boys play, but he has other motives as well. Down on the field, head football coach of the Crows, Coach Gaines, tells Kent to get on the field. Jonathan starts out onto the field and Gaines calls him back and says, "Not you, short stack," referring to Jordan, to go on defense and to get them the ball back. It is Jordan's first game and he is nervous. His dad goes to him before he goes out onto the field and gives him a boost of confidence. The ball is snapped and the play gets underway. Jordan makes his way through the offensive line, across the line of scrimmage, and tackles the quarterback. The quarterback fumbles the ball, and one of the Smallville defensive players picks it up and runs in the other direction for a touchdown. Jonathan and Clark are proud of Jordan, but at the same time, Jonathan is jealous as well that Jordan is the star right now and not him. After the game, which the Smallville Crows won, Coach Gaines awards the game ball to Jordan. The team celebrate the win and Jordan. After the game at home, Lois and her father get into an argument about Jordan and Clark. He snaps at her and says he does not like where Clark's priorities are, and Lois snaps right back at him, saying that he is being a father to his sons. Clark comes in from the night and he hears what's going on and says he knows his priorities are great as Superman, but he also tells him that his bigger priorities are being a father to his sons and helping coach his sons on the football team. Sam tells Clark and Lois that him moving out of Metropolis and not being around has raised red flags and that the crime is starting to see an uptick, especially the organized crime groups such as Intergang. Plus, he brings up the armored guy, Captain Luthor. He also says that they are moving an extremely dangerous criminal and enemy of Superman's to a new prison facility and that prisoner is Thaddeus Kilgrave. Sam wants Superman to escort the prison transfer. Clark says if something goes wrong, he will deal with it, but he will not assist with the prisoner transfer. Sam does not like that, so he decides that he will stay the weekend with Lois, Clark, and the boys just to see how things go. That same night after the game, Jordan and Jonathan go to a local restaurant in town to continue celebrating Jordan getting the game ball and the team's win. One of the players, Tag Harris, who got injured and broke his arm during the bonfire when Jordan's heat vision happened, is not happy because he cannot play football with the team due to that injury. Jonathan is there talking to Sarah, and Jonathan almost has to break up a fight between Tag and another player. At another location in town, Lana and Kyle are at a nice restaurant with Morgan Edge and his people. Morgan Edge begins talking to Lana about her work at the bank, which he bought, and as the conversation continues, she just gets a not-so-great vibe from him, and it's making her feel extremely uncomfortable. Kyle does not do or say anything, to which Lana gets upset with him about. Later that same night, Lois and Chrissy meet back up at the Smallville Gazette, and Lois shows Chrissy the new article on Morgan Edge and the Smallville mayor she has written, and that it is ready to publish. Just as they are talking, Leslie, the red, brown-headed assistant or servant to Morgan Edge, walks in and hands Lois her old Daily Planet contract, and that Edge and his assholes are aware of the piece Lois intends to publish, and says That would be in breach of her contract, which she is still attached because of Edge, and now Lois cannot publish the piece that she just wrote. Tag Harris is home, and he's still upset about his right arm, which is the one that is still broken. He gets angry again because he cannot play football, and he starts to remove his cast. As he's trying to do so, his right arm begins vibrating, and he is exhibiting powers. The next morning, Clark is practicing with the boys on the farm. Jonathan confides in his dad about how he's feeling about Jordan getting all the glory on the team, and he feels left out because he's riding the bench. Clark tells him to hang in there and that his time to shine is coming. Lois comes out of the house and asks Clark if she will go to the town hall meeting with her tonight to be a voice for her since she can't right now because of the contract issue. He says yes, he will be there. Lois goes to find Morgan Edge at the Smallville mines to confront him on the issue of her contract. Lana and Kyle are at the town hall building setting up chairs and things for the town hall meeting later on that night, and Kyle likes the fact that Lois's article never got published and showed up in the paper. Lana suddenly speaks up and tells him what Edge did, and she is upset with Kyle because he did not do or say anything when Edge was making her feel uncomfortable during dinner last night. Lois gets to the mine and she sees Morgan Edge and Leslie. She goes to them to let them know that if he tries to sue her, Lois will then countersue. He tries to threaten Lois, but it does not work. Lois lets him know that the game is not over. At the school field house, Coach Gaines is going over game film. He is not happy because of his team's mental mistakes. Tag is sitting by Jonathan and gets upset at the coach and leaves the locker room and heads toward the restroom area of the field house. Jonathan thinks something might be wrong, so he follows him to make sure everything is okay. Back at the house, General Sam Lane is coordinating the prisoner transfer from the farmhouse off-site from the DoD, and he is following the prisoner transfer convoy from a satellite link up on his laptop. As the convoy is traveling, members of the organized crime group Intergang attack the convoy and free Thaddeus Kilgrave, who ends up escaping the police and military. Tag is in one of the restroom stalls, again working to try and get his cast off. But as he is trying to get the cast off, he starts having more vibrations in his arm, which are becoming more intense. Clark is picking up something close with his super hearing as Coach Gaines is still showing game film and lecturing the team. He notices that Jonathan and Tag have left the room. He goes to find and check on them. As Clark is walking through the locker room area, he hears the emergency signal going off that General Sam Lane is calling him. Before Clark changes into Superman, Jonathan finds his dad and tells him something is wrong with Tag. Clark and Jonathan get to where Tag is just as he comes out of the stall without his cast, which Clark asks what happened to it, and he says he tore it off. Tag then leaves. Jonathan starts to tell his dad that something is not right with Tag. Clark tells him that they will talk about it later because he is being called by the general, and Clark flies off to Metropolis. Superman makes it to Metropolis and lands in an alley and finds a recording device on the ground left for him by Kilgrave. Superman flies around Metropolis to see if he can find Kilgrave, but he is unable to locate him. General Sam Lane leaves the Kent farm and heads back to the DoD. As he leaves, he tells the boys, "Do not distract your father because he is Superman, and not to go to him if they need him." He then drives off, and the boys decide to go to a party later with some of the other football boys and others from school. Later on that afternoon, at the town hall meeting, Kyle is talking about all the good Morgan Edge is doing for the town. Lois is there along with Morgan Edge, Leslie, Chrissy, and a lot of the other townspeople. Lois is waiting for Clark to show up so that hopefully they can stop the important vote that is supposed to take place that will make Morgan Edge what people think is the town's savior, or to keep him out of the town's business sector, housing, and economy. Lana sees Lois in the town hall and notices she seems on edge, and Lana stops her to ask if she's okay. Lois says no because I'm a sore loser. Lana asks her if she wants to grab a drink later on that evening without any husbands or kids, just the two of them. Lois agrees to do so. Mayor George Dean calls for the vote to open the Schuster Mines in Smallville. Much of the town agrees, and the motion to have Morgan Edge Intercorp take over the mines gets approved. Clark apologizes for missing the vote. Lois gets irritated and says that she needed him earlier and he wasn't there. She says she feels like she is way down on Clark's list of priorities. She leaves to go meet Lana, and Clark stands there, disappointed in himself. Sarah, Jordan, and Jonathan get to the party and start cutting loose. Tag is there, and Jonathan keeps his eye on him. Sarah and Jordan just chill and take it easy and talk. Tag has another incident with his vibrations, which are getting worse with each incident. He ends up breaking a piece of furniture and gets kicked out of the party. Superman shows up at the DOD as a courtesy to the military and General Sam Lane. Lois and Lana just cut it loose at the restaurant and bar. Lana says Kyle respects Lois, and Lois tells her the feeling is mutual. They both have a few drinks and a few shots. At the DOD, the soldiers get a hit on where Kilgrave is, and Superman flies off to go get him and get him back into military and police custody. Only Kilgrave is waiting for Superman and has a trap set for him. Kilgrave and his men trick Superman, and Kilgrave fires a sonic wave blaster at him, which takes Superman down to his knees and hurts his ears badly. The closer he gets to Superman, the more he fires at him. The sonic beams being fired at him make his ears glow almost as if they are on fire, though whenever he stops firing, his ears begin to heal themselves. But Kilgrave fires the blaster again. Superman tries to rush him as he's firing, but he gets knocked off his feet and into a concrete slab. He hits the concrete slab hard. Kilgrave continues his attack. Back in Smallville, Jonathan and Jordan follow Tag into a wooded area, and they see what is happening to him, only now his entire body is shaking and vibrating very violently. Tag tells them he cannot control it. Tag tells them to leave and to get away from there. Jordan tells Jonathan that he thinks it is his fault that this is happening to Tag because of what happened at the bonfire. Jonathan tells Jordan to use the emergency device and call their dad. Before he does, Jordan goes down to Tag to try and use his elevated strength to help Tag get the vibrations to calm down or to stop, only it doesn't work. Tag's vibrations knock him back several feet. Jordan is knocked out, and Jonathan goes to his brother to find the emergency device and activates the button that is now calling Superman. Superman, even though the sonic pulses are still being fired on him, he can still use his hearing, and he hears his son's voices calling for him. Jonathan is trying to wake Jordan up so they can escape. Superman, hearing his son's voices, gets him up. He gets to his knees and uses his hands and claps his hands as hard as he can to counteract the weapon beams being fired at him, and it knocks Kilgrave back and his minions back as well. Superman uses his heat vision and burns and melts the weapon. Superman tells General Lane that Kilgrave and his men are down and that they are his, and to send medical personnel. Superman flies off back to Smallville as fast as he can. Superman swoops down out of the sky and grabs Tag and flies him to an extremely high altitude where the air is very thin that will help him and his body calm down and stop the vibrations. Back at home, Jordan and Jonathan check on each other, and Jonathan comes clean to Jordan that he has been jealous of him regarding football, and he apologizes to him for it. He tells Jordan what happened to Tag is not his fault. Downstairs, Lois, Clark, the boys, and Sam talk, and they say Tag is being seen by the doctors, and that it is concluded that Jordan's eye blast, which caused the fire explosion at the bonfire that night, but it didn't cause Tag's powers. There was another substance that got stirred up from the ground that activated Tag's metahuman powers. The boys ask if they can see him. General Lane says not right now, and that for now Tag will be going to a special school for metahumans. Clark asks the boys why they waited so long to use the device to call Superman. The boys both look at General Sam Lane. Lois and Clark are furious with General Sam Lane. Clark gets upset at him and tells him that he cannot tell his boys not to come to him for help. Finally, Lois comes into the conversation and tells her dad to stop. She tells him if he keeps this up that he will not be welcome at their house anymore, and General Sam Lane decides to leave. The next morning at the Cushing house, Kyle makes breakfast for the kids and lets his wife sleep in. He is trying to do better and be better for her and the family. That night, Clark prepares a nice evening dinner for Lois and himself out in the barn to show her that he does care and to let her know that she and the boys are number one in his life. Back at the DOD, General Sam Lane takes out of his pocket the black and white evil Superman dog tag labeled 7734 and calls in a contingency plan protocol, which he's now calling 7734, saying that this is something they might need for future use. In the mines, Morgan Edge is feeling around the stone and the rock and stops at a certain point. Leslie punches through the rock and stone and makes a hole which reveals a certain kind of kryptonite inside the rock and stone. And that is the end of Superman and Lois, Season 1, Episode 4, Haywire. Okay, so like I said earlier, this was a good episode, but it was sort of all over the place, I thought. There's one thing I'm going to gripe and complain about that is not about this show, but the network, the CW. They take way too many commercial breaks during this show, and I've noticed during other shows as well. The commercials are way too long. They need to tone down the commercials and shorten them up as well, and stop taking so many commercial breaks. That's ridiculous how many they take. I really appreciated that they did not have any temper tantrums from Jordan in this episode. Maybe he's finally beginning to settle down a little bit. I love the relationship between Jordan and Jonathan and how strong it is and how it continues to grow in a positive direction. Okay, so something from last week's episode. The lady who killed the powered individual who attacked Lois and Sharon Powell in the hotel room with her heat vision is Morgan Edge's bitchy assistant, Leslie. My guess is that she's either a Kryptonian, a metahuman, or something completely different, though she does seem to exhibit the exact same powers and abilities as Superman, or at least so far she does. So now, since the creators of Superman and Lois have officially introduced metahumans into this show, I'm anxious to see if maybe Grant Gustin's Barry Allen the Flash or Keon Lonsdale's Wally West Kid Flash may show up in Superman and Lois. I loved the villain in this episode, Thaddeus Kilgrave, and actor Brendan Fletcher, who played him. He really made this character, and the character was menacing and really psychotic. So kudos to that actor for really making this a kind of a psycho that Superman had to deal with. So now I'm wondering what Morgan Edge and Leslie's endgame is with the mines full of kryptonite, and how the evil black-suited Superman relates to all this, and the protocol 7734, and how all this fits together along with the General and now Captain Luthor. As far as a grade for this episode, I'm going to give Superman and Lois Season 1, Episode 4, Haywire, an A-. My reason for this grade is just because, like I said earlier, I just felt that the episode was all over the place and that there was way too much happening in this episode. Now, don't get me wrong, it was all great. I just felt like it was too much shoved into a 45-minute time span. Okay, so that's my review. I'm going to say thank you so much for watching. Good night. God bless. I love all of you, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.